Okay, enough about Christmas. It's time to get to the nitty gritty of the NFL schedule. And what about the wins, the WENS wins of the Rams schedule, and how you, as a Ram fan, should keep your focus? Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the May 13th, 2022 edition. Very glad you're with us today. It is Friday the 13th, and I've actually been thinking about doing Friday the 13th conspiracy shows regarding the Rams, that maybe Chuck Knox was a Russian mole and the decisions he made in the most crucial moments were actually set up by Brezhnev and the Russians to somehow disrupt the joy space-time continuum of America, and especially those of us who live in Los Angeles. Because you ever notice how Chuck Knox did everything right, but then when you just needed to do that one more right thing, it fell short? So I was thinking that'd be a great full moon episode. But alas, I didn't prepare it. I got too caught up in a couple of other things. One was the NFL schedule drop, and the other one was I still suck, but I don't suck as bad as I did a month ago. Looking at my analytics reports, thank you so much. They still suck, but last month was a month, capital S suck. This is a lowercase suck. So that's all because a few people have been clicking on, and we've been building a little bit of momentum. So I want to say thank you for that. You can hit like, subscribe, leave comments. And I generally gauge success when I listen to the show again and I feel like, did I do a good job? Of course, I want you to click on. I want you to like me. I want this to be the new Joe show, not the Joe Rogan show, the Joe T show that overtakes the Joe Rogan show, just talking NFL football and mainly the Rams. But I'm good with it. And for that little support I've received so far, I do thank you very, very much. So the NFL schedule dropped yesterday, and that manipulation. Let's give them taste. Let's give them this, like the NFL is a narcotic that has to feed us just this little bit to keep us from going into withdrawals. And I get it. But I just felt like I was being played with, and so I kind of stayed away from it. We knew months ago who the Rams were playing, but we just didn't know the win, right? And that's the most important thing. And of course, those two things dropped. And the two cold weather games that are fearful, late November, not Christmas Day, mid-December, are Green Bay and Kansas City. And then, of course, we know how my thoughts are on the NFL and the Rams Broncos invading my space on Christmas Day. But no doubt you've seen the schedule, 17 games. I don't know if it's an attempt to have some kind of hipster, illogical view here, but it's ridiculous that it's a 17-game season. Add one more game, get rid of two of the three preseason games, and let's just get on to business, right? Let's just go do something else, okay? But instead we're at a 17-game season. So Rams have 6 games against the NFC West: Cardinals, Seahawks, 49ers. We should win all those games. I'm not saying the 49ers are a bad team. In fact, the 49ers are a team that scares me. But the one thing about the 49ers is they're breaking in Trey Lance, and all that news stuff is kind of coming out. Also, they're always injury susceptible. They're becoming more Deebo Samuel dependent. There's always a running back going down. George Kittle is always going down. And so they're vulnerable. And it will take time for Trey Lance to get his feet under him. Unfortunately, the Rams are done with the 49ers by midseason. We don't play a late season game against Frisco. So that is interesting there. The Rams should be able to win those 2 games. I think we should be able to beat the Cardinals. We should be able, without some kind of brain freeze, beat the Seahawks and go 6-0 in the West. Now, these are the wins the Rams need to have, okay? Atlanta, Carolina, okay? Got to have those wins. Can't horse around with those wins, not with those games, not with the schedule the Rams have. Then, of course, they're playing Dallas and New Orleans. And I say this on more of a personal level. If you remember the scene in Godfather, it's not business, it's personal, or it's not personal, it's business. When it's Dallas and New Orleans, for me, it's personal. I despise those franchises. I cannot stand those franchises. I may root for them when they play the Russians, but that's about it. Until then, I don't care about them. Someone asked me, Joe, how long are you going to hold on to this hatred for the Cowboys and the Saints? And I said, until they rot and lie stinking in the earth. I do not want to lose those games. So therefore, The Rams are playing Dallas at SoFi. They should get that win, make them 9-0, or those are 9 wins. I'm not going to say they're going 9-0, but they'll get 9 wins there. And then they should win in New Orleans because we don't even know who their quarterback is. They spent too much money, had to cut too much talent, and it's going to take them a while to get back in that window. They may think they're in the big playoff window, but they're not. And the Rams should take care of them unless, something comes up. Let's even the score for Nikel Roby-Coleman and forget about that the Saints had possession first in overtime, because when you get the ball first in overtime in the hands of a Hall of Fame quarterback in the NFC title game, you're supposed to win that, right? Because it's sudden death, you're going to win. They got the ball first, right? Dante Fowler smashed Drew Brees. JJ got the interception. Zerline put the kick, and we went to the Super Bowl. I'm sick of New Orleans and they're whining about Nikel Roby-Coleman. And then I got to hear all the time, poor Katrina people. Hey, Katrina was like 17 years ago, but there's always a Jim Nance out there that was a bleeding heart that's going to tell us, oh, it's going to be a real shot in the arm for the city. I despise the Saints. Crush them. So the Rams can get those wins, again, wins against Atlanta and Carolina. That's 10 wins on the season. That leaves 7 games against the really tough opponents: Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Las Vegas, Green Bay, Denver, and Chargers. You're not going to win all those games. You just can't see them winning all those games. If the Rams go 3-4 against those teams, Buffalo at home, Tampa Bay on the road, Kansas City on the road, Las Vegas at home, Green Bay on the road, Denver at home, and the Chargers, which is roughly a home game anyway. If the Rams can win 3 of those 4 games, they finish 13-4. If they only win 2 of those 7 games, I'm sorry, it wasn't 3 of 4, it was 3 of 7. They go 3-4, they finish 13-4. If they only win 2 of the 7 games against those teams, they finish 12-5. Do you know what 12-5 gets you? 12-5 gets you a division title, which is what they had last year, right? They did have to play a road game, but it's about getting where you want to be, right? Don't get worked up about these games. The most important thing is getting yourself into a position where you don't have to go on the road to a tricky climate. Green Bay, Philly. I think Philly's definitely going to be a playoff team this year. Maybe Washington at the lower end of things, but if Washington gets in, my guess is they'll have to come to LA if there's that kind of a lineup. I'm not worried about New York. I'm not worried about Dallas. If Detroit makes the playoffs or Minnesota makes the playoffs, and for some weird reason we have to go up there, guess what? They forfeited their home field advantage by building dome stadiums. They want to host Super Bowls in those cities. They don't really care about playing in them, because if they really cared about playing in Super Bowls, they would have built outdoor stadiums and took advantage of the elements to help their squad and their franchise. So really what you want to worry about is Green Bay and Philly and maybe Washington. You just don't want to go north. I think if Chicago makes the playoffs, they'll have to come here. And really, does Chicago scare you? Okay. So the Rams can go 12-5, 13-4, and that means they don't have to win against Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Las Vegas, Green Bay, Denver, and the Chargers. Do I think they can win? Oh, yeah, I think they can win all those games. I think in a world where there wasn't attrition, injuries, trap games, so to speak, I think the Rams have the ability to go 17-0. That doesn't mean they're going to go 17-0. All right, as we come up to the 9-minute mark, again, my name is Joe Terozzi, and this is RamView on Joe T Sports. We'd really love it if you could hit like and subscribe, leave a comment, hit some shares around on your social media platforms to let people know about this show. We do this on podcast. I am getting this up on podcast. It's on Anchor, which I think is an outlet of Spotify. This show is on Spotify in podcast form, so you can hear it on the road. I support myself as a pastor. I'm a pastor of a small church in Burbank, and I'm also a writer. I've written several books. I served more than 20 years as a paid sports writer, and so my books, Tangent Dreams, which is my high school football novel, is having like a second life. I think it's because of the show. I am selling copies now. It came out about 6 years ago. I'd encourage you to get it. It's got some good reviews, and it's a really good football book. So why don't you check that out? My latest book is Sin Briars. This is an explicitly Christian novel, And you can find these books on Amazon, but this is how I support myself. I'm never going to be in a position really to do this show for fee, right? And I don't really think I want to go the whole Patreon route because I don't know what else I can give you because I don't have time. But, and why, right? So if you could check out those books, I would really be appreciative. Share them, and I'll answer any questions you have on them. Also, wow, I forgot to tell you this. I've been invited to speak certain places, clubs, women's groups, rotaries, schools. And if you want me to come and talk about my books, long shot, I'd be happy to come and talk about my books. All right, cool. There's the commercial. And you can follow me at JoeT13B on Twitter and Instagram, and of course, JoeTerosian.com. All right. So let's look at the Scram schedule week by week. And I'm not giving you predictions. I'm going to give you what are my initial thoughts, my original thoughts when I hear the name of this team. Every time you hear a team's name, you have a thought, right? And maybe it's a memory or a bad memory, a good memory, but you have a thought. And then what the present situation is. And so we're going to work our way through this. The Rams, of course, as everyone knows, I'm not breaking any news here, open at home against Buffalo on a Thursday night, September 8th. Yeah, but someone says Buffalo to me, I hear 4 consecutive Super Bowl losses. That's what I still hear when I hear Buffalo. I don't even think of OJ and the Electric Company. I think of 4 consecutive Super Bowl losses. And in the present day, they lost last season out in the playoffs not because of a coin flip, but because they couldn't stop Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. So I think they're a good team. I'm interested to see how the whole thing plays out with Von Miller coming back to the house. Will he take on the role of villain? Will he talk any neck? And it'll be interesting to see. Great team, a really good team, but it'll be interesting to see. The Rams handled Buffalo pretty good at the start of the 2020 season, and then they made some really bad plays. Josh Allen made some plays, and Buffalo pulled that game out. A couple of ridiculous roughing calls and everything. So yeah, they're at home against Buffalo. I'm going to say every game is winnable, guys. Okay, this game is definitely winnable, and we'll see. But if it's lost, it's not the end of the world. Second week, they're playing Atlanta at home. That's September 18th. And you all have teams that you think about growing up. When I think of Atlanta, not once did I ever dream when I was in the street, backyard, or on the playground playing that I ever dream, oh, man, I want to be an Atlanta Falcon, right? I can envision myself being a Jet. I can envision myself being drafted by the Cowboys, but not playing for them, right? Always, I'd love to be a Redskin. Hey, maybe a Raider wouldn't be bad. But did anyone ever dream about being a Falcon? Ooh, gross. I never wanted to be a Falcon. And honestly, I don't think the Falcons are going to have anyone dreaming much about them this year, as it is a rebuild. And thank you for playing. We'll have some lovely parting gifts for you. And we move on from there. Week 3, the Rams go to Arizona, Sunday, September 25th. My thoughts are, whatever. What would have happened if Neil Lomax had the team that Kyler Murray has around him right now? Where would that team be? I really like Neil Lomax. Just that hip injury just ended all too soon. In the present, Kyler Murray does not keep me up at night. I'm amazed at excuse me. I need that sneeze or cough button. But I'm amazed at how Kyler Murray gets placed in such high regard in the NFL. He's good. But come on, can we just stop talking about him being great? So I'm not worried about that one. Rams go to San Francisco week 4. We should always worry about that one. That's October 3rd. The funny thing is, I hate the 49ers now more than I did when they had Montana. I wanted to gin up hate for Montana and those guys, but Montana was so good that at a certain point, you just had to admit he is so good and so great, you had to accept it. Presently, the 49ers are a very good team with a rapidly closing window, and so very beatable for the Rams. Week 5, they got Dallas on October 9th. You bring the Cowboys into LA in October, and there's only one thing I think about is Harold Jackson, October 14th, 1973. If you're a Ram fan, you should go look that up. If you're a Ram fan for life, you know what that game was. In the present, the boys have problems and are always pretenders, and Philly's going to win the East this year unless something really weird happens. Number 6, the week before the bye, the Rams play the Carolina Panthers. They host them. I don't know. What am I supposed to think about when I think about the Panthers? I'm Brad Hoover. I don't know. But being that this is a game that's a week before the bye, this is the kind of team the Rams kind of horse around with. There was that stretch last year with the Giants, the Lions, and the Texans, where the Rams kind of screwed around a little bit, and they should have put those teams away sooner and limited more of the snap counts. They did, but they messed around a little too much, and they could do that with Carolina heading into a bye week. So really, this is a team the Rams need to put away early, give their starters fewer snaps, give them a full bye, and then they come back fresh for week 8, where San Francisco comes to town, and at Frisco, Frisco's coming to town. Frisco is vulnerable. Again, I've talked about it, and you have to wonder at that point, how much mileage will Deebo Samuel have on him by mid-season? Tampa Bay in week 9, November the 6th. We always win in Tampa. We could lose this time, but is it a game that strikes fear into you? It's not a game that strikes fear into me. It's a winnable game. And so, and then there's also part of me that believes that Brady signing that contract with Fox, there is something about, I don't know, karma, that at some point there's a sports karma. I don't believe in a spiritual karma, but I believe in a sports karma. There's something about it that just tells me that this is the season Brady falls to earth, right? This is the season he becomes mortal. And, the image of Bowie's man who fell to earth. This is the season, I think. I'm not saying Brady's going to be horrible, but I'm just getting a feeling that time's going to catch up, and maybe between the pseudo retirement, this big contract at the other end, that maybe this is the year a mortal man actually becomes a tiny bit distracted, and also becomes a little bit concerned with self-preservation, right? I don't know, just coming through my head. And if Brady isn't right, then Tampa Bay is not a threat. Number 10, week 10, Arizona comes to town. You say Arizona, I say Roy Green and Mel Gray. They should be better remembered along with Terry Metcalf. In the present, Kyler Murray in week 10 is not going to be the Kyler Murray of week 3. He didn't scare me in week 3. Kyler Murray in week 10 is going to have some hits on him. Kyler Murray's not going to want to run, and we don't know what disposition he's going to be in. Hey, it could all turn around for him this year, but Kyler Murray scares me less in week 10 than he does in week 3. So I'm not worried about it. And it will be the second half of the season, which that is a narrative the Cardinals have to change, and I don't know if they can. Then in week 11, this starts the stretch. Week 11, Sunday, November 20th, Rams go to New Orleans, right? And we're going to have to put up with the Jim Nantz types that are always going to go, oh, this town could really use a shot in the arm, and this brave town, right? Forget it. The question for New Orleans will be, will Jameis Winston still be their quarterback at this point in the season, right? Who's going to be their quarterback? I think they drafted well. I just don't see – they think their window is still there. I don't think their window is still there. I think they got to wait a year, and we'll see how it plays out. But I'm not really scared about New Orleans. I am scared of some evener calls. I am scared of there's always something funky that happens in New Orleans, and there was always something funky that happened in New Orleans when the Rams played there back in the 70s. And I don't practice Santeria. I don't got no crystal ball, but I know something about New Orleans, and they always mess with Rams with the Rams when they're in New Orleans. So keep that in mind. Number 12, the following week, road trip continues. They go to Kansas City on Sunday, November 27th. I believe that is the Sunday following Thanksgiving. Cold. I think of Kansas City, Arrowhead, and the Rams. It's the first Ram game I ever saw from start to finish. In 1972, I caught pieces of Rams games on TV, and I listened to them with Dick Enberg on KMPC. But in 73, I actually got to see my first Ram games from start to finish. And the Rams opened the 73 season in Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. That was the down stretch of those great Hank Stram teams. McCutcheon caught a touchdown pass. Steve Priest had a fake field goal. And so that's what comes to mind when I think about the Rams going to Kansas City. In the present, with 4 full seasons of tape, and you saw what the Bengals did to him. Doesn't Patrick Mahomes seem just a tiny bit dangerous, that you can game plan for him, that you can do a few things? I don't necessarily hold that with the Buccaneers Super Bowl victory, because he didn't have his 2 tackles in that game. But what the Bengals did last year against him, and this was the Bengals, right? This wasn't the Buccaneers. This wasn't the Rams. This wasn't the 49ers. The Bengals. And And they didn't have an answer for the Rams and OBJ until OBJ got hurt, and then a few things happened, and they stayed in that game. But they found a way to shut down Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs offense in the second half of the playoff game. And so it kind of lends you that Mahomes is still great, out of this world great, but he is beatable, and we shouldn't live in fear. Week 13, the Seattle Seahawks come to town, Sunday, December 4th. Yeah, whatever. I don't get too worked up about it. I like the Carolina bye before. On the Carolina before the bye, I worry about the Rams being a little less focused, possibly thinking what's in front of them with Las Vegas and Green Bay on the calendar. So they could possibly get stung. We might not think the Seahawks are good, but Pete Carroll's still a pretty good coach, and they could coax out a victory. But if the Rams are focused, it's not going to happen. Rams get Las Vegas at home. Someone says Raiders to me. I still think Super Bowl 11 should have been a Raiders-Rams in the Super Bowl in the Rose Bowl. That would have been perfect. I think there was a conspiracy there. That's a full moon Friday the 13th type show, just to be funny. In the present, I do find myself much more than any other time in my life rooting for the Raiders. I root for Derek Carr, good dude. And I think because to me it's become much more obvious the NFL would love the Davis family not to have ownership anymore of the Raiders. And maybe Davis isn't a great owner, but I'm really sick of the NFL. The NFL doesn't have any competition, so it can do whatever it wants. And at some point, the NFL needs to have its nose bloodied. And I think the corporate level is they're kind of bullies. And I'd like to see the Raiders have a great success in Las Vegas, just not when they play the Rams. Week 15, Monday night, December 19th. This is the Green Bay game, going to Lambeau for the third straight year. Someone says Green Bay to me. I still think 1974 and John Brockington. And the week before, the Rams traded John Hadle to the very same Packers. That's what always comes to mind to me. In the present, Aaron Rodgers doesn't scare me. Brand new receiving core, not much of one, doesn't scare me. And as long as the Rams don't throw a pick six or have too much go wrong, I think they should win this game. But it's not the end of the world if they don't. But this game, again, the Rams are going to be competitive in all these games. The Rams have the ability, aside from attrition, that's the piling up of injuries, to win all these games. And then, of course, there's the Christmas Day game in Week 16. And I've stated my thoughts on that. You say Denver, I say Otis Armstrong. He's retired, so he's not playing. But when anyone says Russell Wilson, and I'm one of them, is less than he used to be, and I feel like as a Rams fan who has seen him for the last 11 years, we've seen him like 22 times plus playoffs, something along those lines. When anyone says that Wilson is a little bit less than he used to be, the KBM, the Kiss Butt Media, immediately accuses you of declaring that Wilson is washed. This is the media, again, talking down to you as the fan. You have an opinion. Maybe you've done some research on it. Maybe not as great as he used to be. Media, the Kiss Butt Media talks down and accuses Wilson is washed, that he's finished. And we're not saying he's finished. He's still very good. He's a very good quarterback. But honestly, the Chargers' Justin Herbert scares me more than Russell Wilson. And I'm going to say this as a Ram fan. We've all seen him. We've won games in Seattle consistently. We've won games here in LA consistently. It's been a very fair back and forth. When has Wilson ever been consistently dominant or great against the Rams? Never. He's made big plays, but consistently, methodically. Think all the times the last few years we see Jimmy G just going over the middle, just dumping it. And it's like, God, somebody hit this guy. And he's not a great quarterback, right? And methodically, I go back to the Joe Montana days. We mentioned Joe Montana. Man, how many times did the Rams have the 49ers 3rd and 7? And then he hits Roger Craig just looping out of the backfield, or Brent Jones or Russ Francis or something. It was just always something. And it was just consistent and methodical. Wilson's not that way, at least against the Rams. Wilson is somebody who makes that spectacular play. But in between, the Rams give him fits. And I think he's a really good quarterback. He's not washed. But I think people might be overselling Denver just a tad and underselling the Chargers just a little. There's the Chiefs in between. And I just wouldn't count out the Raiders. I think the Raiders are tough. Speaking of the Chargers, we get them on January 1st. Again, I wish they would eliminate some preseason games, move back the schedule, play a game at the end of August, and keep the whole calendar year of the regular season in 2022, or the year the bulk of it was played in. I hate it when regular season games leak into January. It messes with it. I don't like it that the Rams are the 21-22 NFL champs. The Rams basically played that entire season in 2021. They're the 2021 NFL champs. But when you leak the regular season into January, I think January should be guarded as postseason. And it bugs me. So anyway, Rams get a home game. They play the Chargers. I take great comfort in Bolt history that the Bolts are always going to bolt. And until they get an over-the-top receiver, or Jerry Levias or Harrison Davis comes to the locker room to run the streak, they don't scare me that much. But you know what, man? If you've seen Justin Herbert, man, that guy is developing, and they're putting better pieces around him. And so it's going to be interesting to see. And their offensive line has gotten better. But again, attrition, right? You got to wonder what's going to take place with Austin Eckler. You got a full, healthy season on him last year. Can that be repeated? And is the depth there? And there is some depth there. And the other last thing you want to say about the Chargers is if the Spanos family, if Spanos himself can keep his distance, this team can be great. The second Spanos gets close to things, I really believe he's the schlep rock of the NFL. And if the Bolts are going to break their history, their narrative, they got to keep Spanos away, right? Not a Spanos boy. As a Ram fan, we know all about bad ownership, and so we can call it when we see it, right? And then finally, Sunday, the January 8th, Rams play Seattle, up in Seattle. And generally those games when I was a kid were cold and not cold and wet. They were in the dome. And it was in 1979. I saw the greatest defensive performance I ever saw. I think something about a -7 yards for the entire game. It was an amazing game by the Rams. Elvis Peacock got hurt in that game, I think. Anyway, I digress. In the present, though, I don't expect the Seahawks to be good. I expect them to play hard. My word for the Rams is they've got to stay healthy. And so if things are wrapped up, if maybe they are already 12-4 at this point, and they've got the division wrapped up, and you could see, because I think the NFC East has the softest schedule, you could see a team like Philly catching fire and accumulating a lot of wins and maybe getting best record in the NFC. Tampa Bay, if Brady holds to form, can do that. And so if there's nothing to play for, I just really would rather see the Rams stay healthy, limit their starter snaps, and then get ready for the first round of the playoffs. And especially if they have already locked up a first round bye, then I don't want to see them anywhere near the field. But we also know that's what the Rams are really good at in terms of keeping their players healthy. Okay, folks, it is Friday, and you got a lot of stuff going on. Again, I joke a lot and everything, but I do appreciate the clicks, and I thank you, because even one click a day, because I just wanted to put the show out there and get you guys click. And so thank you so much. Leave comments, ask questions. I love to engage. Brett Shepard, Lance Allen, Dave Matthews, all you guys. You guys are Dave Mitchell. You guys are awesome to talk to. Mr. Keister, thank you so much. And along with Gary Brown and Tim Burns, it's really great to have you guys interact. If I leave anybody out, I apologize. But thank you so much. All right, folks, we're at the 28-minute mark. Went much longer than I wanted. Have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.